because we are live.
Awesome. I am ready. Good
Let's do
evening,
this.
everybody. All right.
Good, good afternoon, everybody, and welcome to an episode of Soldier Stories, a podcast for veterans to talk with other veterans. All right. And with me this evening, I have Dr. C.M. Queen Williams. A lot to say there. It's a lot.
It's a mouthful, right? No, thank you so much for having me. It's Dr. Williams, aka Queen. So I've been using Queen more. Folks are like, "Are you Dr. Queen or Dr. Williams, or what should we call you?" It's like, choose it. I'll be Dr. Williams, and I'll be just Queen or Dr. Queen,
All right.
however you would have it.
Yes, ma'am. Yes, ma'am. Dr. Williams, you are not only a retired lieutenant colonel, and thank you, ma'am, for the years that you put in work for that. Uh,
Yeah.
and you are also a radiation oncologist,
Yes.
board certified. I should say.
Yes.
Stress because, hey,
Hmm.
when you get that paper, you have to call it for what it is.
Amen to that. Amen to that. Holy Week, yes, it was a lot of sweat and tears, let me tell
Yeah,
you. So
absolutely.
I give God all the glory, knowing from where I came from. Oh, it's a miracle, and I'm grateful.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
And I want you to begin by talking about where you came from
hmm
and what got you into the military. But yes, break down who Queen is. What Queen?
Oh, well, again, thank you for thank you for having me on your podcast. This is so awesome, and
That was so.
I, I am grateful to be able to share, right, where I came from. If nothing else, I hope it can encourage others. If I can encourage even one person, I think my job is done.
Mhm.
So, as noted before, I grew up in Jamaica. I grew up in Jamaica, and then after graduating high school, but the joke was, though, I went to Merle Grove High School in Kingston. And back then I was a jock, sort of. I just did sports and my grades were slipping and stuff. And my daddy came down and said, "Look, if you want to come to America, you better get your grades together." And that's all it took. So I started studying, and there's this exam. Back then it was called the Common Entrance Exam, a CXC. I would say it's equivalent to the SATs here. So I did that and I passed. Bam, I was able to come to America. It's like, yes. So when I came, I initially went to Miami, like most of my immigrant colleague, I'm sure, went to Miami. And I started looking for work. I wasn't sure if I want to go to school just yet. And there was just nothing. I worked in a restaurant. I was walking up and down, see if anybody need any help by where I live
Mm.
in their stores. And, I started noticing the folks around me. And I told myself, if I stayed in Miami, I would just get in trouble. That was the bottom line. I would get in trouble. So I was one of the few who literally pick up the phone and call the recruiter. And well, my dad was away at work.
Yeah.
And the recruiter came and got me, and I did the ASVAB and all that stuff. And that's how it all started there, Ross. That's how it started. I said, Mark, that's how it started, Mark. That's how it started.
All right. All right. So you go in,
hmm
but went as enlisted.
Yes, yes. I was ready to go. So, like many folks, when they went or met with the recruiter, like I want to leave like yesterday. My ASVAB score was good enough. I wanted to do medic at the time, but you'd have to wait. I think it was an additional year, and it's like, oh no, 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 no. What else do you have? So the recruiter at the time lied to me. He's like, oh, well, you're going to be in the lab, do 54 Bravo, which at the time was NBC, Nuclear Biological Chemical Warfare Specialist. It's now CBRNE.
Ooh.
So I thought I was going to be like, yeah, I'm being in the lab mixing up stuff, and yeah, no, 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 no. So I did OSUT, One Station Unit Training out at Fort McClellan, Alabama. Isn't it funny how we remember these dates and places and stuff?
Yeah. Ain't
I
that
Yeah, so I did mine out in Fort McClellan, Alabama. So it was 6 months OSUT? I forgot how long it was. But that's where I trained in NBC and started my enlistment service. And that's why I have my little little mosquito wings there. I
Yeah, yeah.
started at like E0, if there's such a thing. I was an E1 coming into this United States Army. Yes,
Mm.
sir.
What years? I have a question here in the Facebook chat. What years did you serve?
What, you trying to do the math? I hope y'all ain't trying to do math, measure my years now. I was a child genius, so whatever math you think you come up with, it's wrong. I
Hey,
think
brother
I'm like
Mark.
39 and holding. So I did my training back in, oh my gosh, you really want me to say this on air, Mark? They're gonna start. Okay, so I was a child genius. I enlisted. My father had to sign me. So you see, in Jamaica, we have different labor laws. So you can start real early. So take that into consideration. So I joined back in 1991. Yeah,
Okay.
back in October 91. And remember now, don't try to do the math. I'm a
All
child
right.
genius. All
It's
right, all
funny you
right.
say that because I got out in 91.
Oh, really?
I got out
Yeah,
in
lots of
91.
stuff was going on in 91, and it was quite a
Yeah.
shocker for me, but
Desert
it
Storm
was
was
good.
going on.
Yeah, a lot of stuff, back in 93, I remember I was stationed. Oh, you want to get something funny, right? Coming from Jamaica, I asked for all the warm duty station, right? How about Texas? I don't know, Arizona.
Mm.
They sent me to the fourth ID out in Colorado.
Colorado.
Yes, Colorado Springs, the fourth ID. I was with the 52nd Engineer and then went to 329 Field Artillery. This stuff just rolled off my tongue. You think it was
Yeah.
yesterday.
Yes.
But
That's how you know that we connect on that level because memories just start pouring back and pouring.
yeah.
I was a guest on a podcast earlier today.
Mm-hmm.
He was just asking me about my time in the Marines and memories and years
Yes.
just
Just
popping up. And
duty station.
I'm surprised I still remember this.
Right. Even I am too. It's like 329 Field Artillery, and 52nd Engineer and all that stuff. Because of my MOS, we were always attached to the MOS that goes downrange. So with the engineers, we would always do field training exercises, and we pretty much were providing showers, right? Because we throw some gas stuff out and gas,
Yeah,
and they put their
that's
mask on and all that stuff.
not
But
rolling.
people love having us because they could get their shower, right? Because first I had a deuce and a half, but then I had a 5-ton truck with water blivet on it. So we would run decon station. If anybody listening were military, you'll remember going through the decon line where you have to
Absolutely.
decontaminate.
Yeah.
Well, we call that like a little shower. So it was good times. It was fun,
It's fun.
not a
It was
care in the
fun
world.
now. It's fun now. But going through that as an 18-year-old kid coming out of high school, that was
Mhm.
terrible.
I wasn't 18. I was a child genius. I was much younger.
Well, yeah. I'm a little older. Hey, that's okay.
I will, Mark, I will emphasize age is just a number, and I'm stuck at 39. Thank you, Jesus. All right.
Amen to that. Now, I remember during our initial interview, Doctor,
Mhm.
you spoke about being invited to a prep school for a
Yes.
transition
Mhm.
point. Is that correct?
Yeah. So, back then, the United States Military Academy, USMA, and so does the Navy, I think, too. They have a preparatory school where whenever they're recruiting young kids to come into the academy, they want to make sure their grades are good or they tune up on their athleticism, so to speak. So I was being recruited for track and basketball, but honestly, I don't even know who submitted my name for use maps because you had to be recommended. And I just got the letter that says, hey, you've been recommended to come to Use Maps, which is a preparatory school. At the time, it was in Fort Monmouth in New Jersey. And so, yeah, I drove all the way from Colorado to Fort Monmouth, New Jersey, and didn't get lost. I was using those maps back in the
Yeah,
day,
I was about
right?
to say back then there was no
There
GPS.
was no GPS. Didn't get lost until I got to New Jersey, and they have this thing called it's like a loop. So if you want to take a left, you have to turn right and go around this loop thing. It was so turned around. But I went to the prep school and it helped me in a way because it's it was a time where the culture was so very different in that now the internet introduced everything everywhere. Back then, there was no real internet. And so I had some issues relating to some of the questions on the ACT and the SATs. And I always joke that they would ask me simple questions, synonym like, an apple is to a pear as a broccoli is to what?
Mm.
Now, I didn't know what a broccoli was. So even though the answer was a cauliflower, I had no idea what a cauliflower was. We didn't have those stuff in Jamaica back in the day. So, it took some adjustment. And I think the preparatory school helped me with that
Mm.
and helped me to get my ACT and just get my mind going for academia. I didn't recognize it then. And so got better. All we did was go to school and I run track and play basketball for a whole year.
Mm.
Yeah.
That's crazy.
Getting
That's
paid.
crazy. Right. You did mention that it was a paid.
Yes, we were enlisted. So you
Yeah.
maintain your ranks. At the time, I was a specialist E4. They call you a cadet candidate.
Mhm.
So I maintained that rank at the time as I was going through, if I recall properly. But that may have changed now. So it was a whole year.
Mhm.
And unfortunately, I didn't go on to West Point, graduated and everything from the prep school. And it was a few days before graduation when they said, "Oh, by the way," back then I had my maiden name, Dr. M. Well, Cadet M, we're realizing that you're not a citizen yet. And I'm like, and so you have to be a citizen in order to go to the academy. And it's like, I've been here for a year. What do you mean?
Right.
Try to make some adjustment and stuff, but I tell you what I remember, take away from that. The coach at West Point was amazing because he helped me at that time get on to try out at other schools for their track team. And that's how I end up going to Rutgers University. I end up,
Mm.
after I did finish up my time as an enlisted, I ended up going to Rutgers University and was able to get on their track team and, got that and plus my GI Bill. And that wasn't enough. So I did ROTC. I was broke. Mark. I had no money.
So you was clawing at it.
Yes, I can't, I felt like, and that's why I think I'm taking a break right now because I felt as though I was in the hamster wheel. When I came to America, you just, you get into that grind. And the only thing that changed for me, I think, was what the hamster wheel looked like. So I would say first I came here, it was like wooden, but it was going. And then
Mhm.
it changed to brass and then maybe to silver. And that's the only thing, but it was still that
It was spinning.
grind. It's like, no, man, something got to change. No, sir.
Indeed. Indeed.
Yes.
Did you go to the military with the anticipation of becoming a doctor, or was that something that was in you already?
No, the doctor stuff, I think that may have been in the back of my head or something. I was one of those little strange kids. I like to play with, I had my little ant farm. I was always amazed, I think, by nature. And inadvertently, I think I was just amazed by God, just the way that things work and function. Going to medical school was not something I didn't grow up like in Jamaica. We didn't have those stethoscope and you play with. Nah, we didn't have those things there.
Mm.
So even though I know I wanted to do something in science, I wasn't sure what at the time. When I was enlisted and I learned about like CDC, I thought, oh, that sounds cool. Maybe I could do CDC level 5. I had no idea what I was talking about then. I was
It
like,
sounds.
okay, yeah. So I was like, okay, maybe CDC, but it didn't really solidify for me until I was in college on the track team. And it's true what they say, the people you surround yourself with, it does have an impact and influence on you. So I was a biochemistry major, And a lot of folks on the track team at the time were pre-med or something along that line. So when I realized my grades were good enough and going to medical school could be an option, I was like, hey, why not?
Why not?
Why not? But the grace of God, why not?
And here you are.
Yes, indeed. Praises.
Indeed, indeed.
Yes.
Doctor, you are a radiation oncologist.
Mm-hmm.
For those that are unaware, give us a
Mm-hmm.
brief breakdown of what that means. What is that?
Okay, so I'll go back to my enlistment day, right? So my first introduction, that's why I say God is so good and things always come full circle. When I was enlisted, I was nuclear, biological, and chemical warfare, and we learned about the nuclear portion, Hiroshima, Nagasaki, and they always talk about the A bomb. That's all people know about radiation. Now, when I was in medical school, you get to do rotation and decide what type of specialty you want to go into. Because of my athleticism, I thought I would go into orthopedic or something of that nature. What I found out during that process, because radiation oncology is not well known, not even to medical students and doctors at that time. So, what we do in radiation is that we take a focus beam and we target the cancer to destroy the cancer cell as simplified as it comes. It's similar to putting a grape in the sun and it dries up into becoming a raisin. That's
Mm,
how we target the cancer cells. Now, there are different types of radiation you can use to treat cancer and different type of precautions that you have to take based on the organs that are close by to where you're trying to treat. And there have been so many advances since I've become a radiation oncologist, and that was back in 2000. I graduated in 2008 from my residency program. So, the simplest way to put it, radiation is taking a focal beam and pointing it at the cancer to destroy the cancer cells. And in some cases, it can shrivel up, and that's what we focus on doing. I can go more into science portion of it, but I think that's the simplest form of talking about radiation for treating cancer.
okay. Okay.
Mhm.
Now, before I go on, it just crossed my mind that I just want to give you your flowers and your respect because you came from it was a nothing to something story.
Yeah.
And you mentioned that you had to claw. You had to really work hard and sacrifice
Hmm.
and burn that midnight oil, as they say,
Absolutely.
to to get to where you are. And none of that
Absolutely.
stuff was easy. And ladies and gentlemen, I think I mentioned this earlier, but I'm gonna say it again. She is a retired lieutenant colonel.
From the little bitty mosquito wings
From
to the
that,
leaf right there.
so
Yes, Claude.
so I just want to acknowledge that,
Thank you,
doctor,
Mark.
and give you your respect due
Thank
and
you.
show that love to you. So thank you,
Thank you.
thank you for that. Thank
Thank
you
you,
so
Mark.
much. All right, now let's move on.
Yes. Thank you for taking the time to do that.
Yes, yes,
Appreciate
indeed,
it. Much appreciated.
deserve it. You specialize in cancer care, VA
Mhm.
disability, and women's midlife health, which includes perimenopause and
Mhm.
survivorship. I'm, I want to talk about the VA piece, though.
Okay.
Veteran to veteran. How
Hmm.
how does what you do
Hmm.
work in conjunction with veterans
Hmm.
that are uh, struggling to get uh, rated?
Hmm.
That's the best way I can say it.
No problem. So first I have to say that I do not work for the VA. I am not a credentialed claim specialist who submit claims or anything like that. I invite your listeners, guests, now, future, to go to q4cd.com, and all the information is laid out there. So the way that I help veterans, I try to stay in my lane, right? So I deal specifically with cancer, toxin exposure, and helping veterans who have cancer to make sure that they have everything aligned so that their package is good and ready. So some of the things that I offer, the first thing, anyone who's coming to me, they have to go through the veteran, the VA consult, is strategy consult is what I call it, because sometimes a lot of the veterans are not even sure of what they have, right? And the funny thing is, I just had a consultation, and what the person has falls under the PACT Act. And I said, look, you don't need a nexus letter. And a nexus letter, also explain, is where you're trying to prove that the diagnosis, the cancer, whatever the patient may have, was caused by something they were exposed to while they were in the military. So I create that nexus to say that what they have was caused by this, or at least as likely as not. This is the VA language you have to use. So we go through first with a VA consult strategy to see what it is that you need. Do you need something that has to do with the survivorship, where you're dependent and the person passed away, had some cancer diagnosis, be it service connected or not, to see if that's something I can help you with? Do you need a disability benefit questionnaire, a virtual stuff that can be done? And if that is needed, that's pretty much regulated. So I can only do for those who are in certain states. I have 4 or 5 licenses for certain states that I can do for. Then maybe it is that you just don't understand a lot of the medical lingo and you're not quite sure what's important, or if your credentialed person who's helping you truly got everything together like you wanted to, right? So I have the knowledge of being in the military, enlisted and as an officer, as well as a physician, to pull everything together. So if someone's a civilian and they're seeing that, hey, you were on a profile, what does that mean? Being on a profile, temporary or permanent? They wouldn't understand what that lingo means. Now, being on a profile could definitely benefit you because it's showing that whatever issues you're having with your diagnosis, it's impacting your activity of daily living. So then that ties into when your claim is written up to say, hey, because I had the cancer and because I received this treatment, be it chemo or whatever, I had to go and profile for a certain period of time. After the cancer was done, now I don't know how to put stuff into writing so that my benefit don't go all the way down to zero. When someone is getting treated for cancer, it's 100%. Once the treatment is done, about 6 months after, they're going to reevaluate, and that's going to go down. How it goes down depends on what your oncology, your cancer doctor writes in your note, and what your residuals are, et cetera. And that's where I come into helping veterans, making sure that their things are prepped. But I'm very clear on my site. If you have low back pain, I am not the person for you. I don't do orthopedic stuff, right? PTSD, I'm not a psychiatrist, psychologist, or do behavioral health, so I don't do that. However, people who are diagnosed with cancer can have psychological issues associated with that. So in some cases, the VA will allow me to write stuff up if I link it to the cancer. And cancer is my lane, toxin, my lane, anything to do with those kind of stuff. And if someone doesn't need a nexus letter, I'll tell you, you don't need a nexus letter. And this client said to me, look, I know I may not need a nexus letter, but I am not going to be getting in that loop of waiting and going back and forth. And so I documented that I recommended no nexus. But if they want to have a full package, or what they think is a full package done, then I will write in there and said, hey, this is covered by the PACT Act. And by that, the nexus exists, and this can cause that cancer, extra, extra, da, da, da. But I line it out all on q4cd.com. Everything starts with a strategy consult for the VA side.
Okay. Okay. That's good, because a lot of veterans don't know the importance of a nexus letter.
Mm-hmm.
There are veterans out there who don't even think that they're worthy enough to pursue getting rated for problems that they still suffer from
Mm-hmm.
due to what they went through then.
Absolutely. And that is so sad. I had someone told me that, well, let somebody else who deserve it get it. And I was like, what do you mean? It's not just a one pot. And if you're injured and you served, then let the VA determine what percentage or what. If it doesn't work out, they'll give you a 0%, which, by the way, is still a claim even if it's zero. But don't make that decision. I always tell even the kids, do not answer the question for yourself. Don't assume that this is what it is or what the outcome will be. It's like, no, if you serve and there's any question, just talk to one of the credentialed VA specialists and have them help you submit your information, because in the long run, you never know how that may help you on in the future. You may have a job now doing well, but then because of the issues you're experiencing, that may lead to you not performing as well on your job or losing your job, right? So all of this come together. You gave your time, be recognized for what you did. And if the VA feels that there's nothing there, then at least you'll have that done, knowing that you did everything you should.
Hmm. Regarding cancer, Dr. Williams,
Mhm,
are there different symptoms as it pertains to men and women?
mhm.
Are there different?
Oh, well, that's a broad, broad question there, Mark. It depends on the type of cancer, right? So the symptoms, there are some cancer that has no symptoms, and you just would not even know that you have it. And that's where screening is so very important. One of the things I also do on my main site, which is quanta.com, I help folks who are newly diagnosed with cancer who need advocacy, not necessarily a second opinion, but just help them guiding through step by step what questions to ask, what to expect. Our group also did a little book that's on the internet on Amazon by Questions for Cancer Doctors, where we show you what questions to ask. But when it comes to cancer, the first thing I always tell folks, everyone, and veterans are really bad about it, especially if they get out after like 4 or 10 years. They're so relieved to be out of the military that they just drop everything. I know you know those veterans, they were fit and trim, and then later on they're not trim, not fit. It's just like, what happened? You used to get 290 on your PT test, and now you
What
can't even do a push-up. What happened?
happened?
So when you're in the military, they kind of make you go through these screenings, right? So if you are a certain age and you're female, they have you do your mammogram regularly. If you're a male, after a certain age, they'll have you do PSA for both. After 45, they'll have you do your colonoscopy. So there are certain screening tests that the military will make you do. Even going to the dentist, they'll make you do that. That is important to follow through. If you were a smoker, now that's a big thing, which I know is a big fight in the military because that's still not recognized, even though you used to have smoke break and all that things.
Mhm.
But if you were a smoker for a certain amount of time, then you can get a screening with what they call a low dose CT scan to check your lungs to make sure you're okay. All the men, y'all should know what your PSA is. You should know your number. And please don't be afraid of the digital rectal exam. I'm
Mm.
going to pause here and tell you why it's important. Mark, I see. You're like, oh no.
Go for
Okay.
it.
So listen, prostate cancer is very common amongst men, right? And the rectal exam is helpful because there are about 1/5 of all men diagnosed with prostate cancer whose PSA was low.
What
So,
say?
yeah, the prostate specific antigen that they get from your blood. So that's a blood test.
Okay.
So your prostate specific antigen is something they just draw in your lab. And I think if you're over 40, when you go to the doctor, you should always ask them, can I get my PSA done? You should have one done at least once a year if you're over 40. If you're African American or of Black descent or African descent, you're at an increased risk for prostate cancer because being Black or African descent is in and of itself a risk factor. So one, you need to get your PSA done. And the rectal exam, what happens during the rectal exam? We're able to feel the prostate, or at least the posterior part of the prostate, the back of the prostate. And we're able to feel if there's a lump on the prostate. And so by doing that exam, if there's a lump on the prostate, regardless if your PSA, your prostate specific antigen, is low or high, especially if it's low, they're going to recommend that they get some sample, a biopsy, to make sure that it's not cancer. Because folks with low PSA and an abnormal rectal exam, that could change a lot of stuff. So it's very important to talk to your primary care. And it may be uncomfortable for the patient, but trust me, it's not fun for the doctors either.
But in that same vein, it's also helpful in
hmm
the potential long run because now you know if
Absolutely.
there's something wrong with me or not.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And so more and more folks are also doing MRI, right? The magnetic resonance imaging, which again, that's something they could do to look at the prostate, and that will light up to show if there are any specific lesion in the prostate as well. So there are lots of tests that can be done for the prostate, and I encourage all men to go out and get their PSA along with their rectal exam. I had someone ask me, well, I went and I got the PSA, and the doctor didn't want to do that part of the exam.
Hmm.
Then I say, ask for a referral to go and see a urologist, especially if the PSA comes back abnormal. This is just something you owe to yourself. Just go ahead and get it done. When I was in my community, I tend to do a lot of community engagement and advocacy stuff. And, we try to encourage folks to go out. And if the PSA is off at all, and the PSA differs by race, and it also differs by age. So someone who is in their 70s and their PSA may be 4 or 5, that may be normal for them because then the prostate could just be enlarged. But that's not a decision that you should make. If it's abnormal, ask your doctor, send me to the urologist. So that's for the men. Now, for the women, please get your mammogram. Do your breast self-exam, get your mammogram, because the mammogram picks up uh, any abnormalities sooner than you're able to feel things. And that's why it's so very important. And especially, I have to speak to the community of those who are of Black descent or African American or from the Caribbean, who
Feeling-
just, they'll see stuff and ignore it, or they'll try to pray it away. It's
Ooh,
Holy Week. Let's address that too,
yeah, yeah.
right? You're trying to pray to it, but if you don't go in and get your screening and know for sure, you don't know what to pray about or pray for. So I always encourage people, let's face what it is that's going on. Let's get this done. And same for lung cancer. And again, as a radiation oncologist, I'm a general radiation oncologist, so I treat from head and neck, breast, rectal cancer, colorectal cancer, all sorts. I don't do pediatrics anymore. I always support St. Jude's. But I stopped doing pediatric. That was a tough one for me as well. So yeah.
Mm-mm. And you just enlightened me on the fact that being melanated is a
hmm
risk factor.
Yes, it is. It's just as and folks ask me, what does that mean, being having a risk factor? If you smoke cigarettes for a long period of time, you increase your risk of getting lung cancer, amongst many other cancer, head and neck cancer, except bladder cancer, even cervical cancer, lots of other cancers, because you are of African descent, that is a risk factor as well for having prostate cancer. So you start a little bit earlier, 40, checking your PSA. And if you have a family history of cancer, that plays into it as well, where you may have to start even earlier.
So for a woman, an older
Mm-hmm.
woman, let's say going through menopause,
Mm-hmm.
is that a risk factor?
No, no. Going through menopause is not a risk factor. For breast cancer, you're talking about now. Here's something that's important that I'm going to say just once, and that is for those who are going through menopause, that doesn't count for risk factor. It has to, for breast cancer, it has to do with your years of estrogen exposure. The genetic risk is pretty, somewhere around 10% or so are caused by genetics. So there are a lot of other things that can contribute to breast cancer, and the screening is catching it earlier than norm. One of the things that I have to acknowledge that I've been doing a lot more lately is for those of the LGBTQ society who may have a change, a sex change, and so were male and now being female, the prostate is still there. So the risk still remains. Okay, so that's something that needs to be. And if you have breast tissue, it must be acknowledged that men also get breast cancer. They make up about 1% of all of the breast cancer diagnosis. So it is important that when you're talking and looking at health, it's the whole thing, it's the whole body, it's everything. What you were born with, what changed. In men, you have, yes, maybe a large peck there, but if you notice any sort of like a hard frozen pea or something that's it's different or it's growing, you need to get that checked out.
Wow.
I know it's a lot. It's a lot. This isn't supposed to be this dance, Mark.
I'm still dancing because you're feeding me knowledge, because that was one of the reasons why I wanted to have you on the show, not just to share your story, but to get this knowledge.
Mm-hmm.
And what you just said to me is very informative.
Well, I'm glad I can help.
I could say that a lot of people that are listening and that will listen to this,
Mm-hmm.
it's very informative to them, because as melanated men, you already know, and you mentioned it, we don't take our health, we
Mm-hmm.
take our health with a grain of salt.
Yeah.
Oh,
Yeah.
I
And
see a
for
bump on my
granted.
car. Oh, it'll go down. And
Yeah.
that praying away thing, major.
Yeah. Yeah. That's something I tend to deal with even on my YouTube
The name of
channel.
God, and it'll go. No,
Yeah,
no,
no.
no, no. Stop
You
it.
have to acknowledge what's there. Yeah. So, as a Christ follower myself, I'm challenged with these all the time. And in Jamaica, I grew up in the church. And so it took some parsing to understand that nothing really just happened. And so for me to be blessed with this knowledge and sharing, not prayer is very important. It is essential, but that does not mean you don't take care of your temple, right? You still have to take care of your temple. You still, and here's an analogy I love to use. Anytime you watch any of my video on YouTube, which is at Queen Quanta, um, I always talk about the vehicle because, I grew up in the motor pool looking after my deuce and a half and my 5-ton truck with a water blivet and all that stuff. So if you think about it, people will go and change their oil, rotate their tires, and take care of their vehicle more than they take care of themselves. If they hear clunk, 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 they're going to take their vehicle straight
Yeah,
away to a
indeed.
mechanic to look after it, right? Why not do the same for your body?
I'm speechless because I'm eating everything that you're saying. I'm eating everything that you're saying, because you're right.
Yeah. Yeah, and I used to be a car snob at one time. Oh, my car got to be. I
Yeah.
even had a name for my car back in the 90s, a little puffy dice, and you got to make sure your ride's looking good. Well, I mean, dressing up the outside when the inside ain't doing right, that's not doing anybody any benefit. Why are you looking at trying to make all this stuff and looking good on the outside when the inside is not doing well? Then you won't be around long enough to enjoy riding in and driving in your brand new vehicle, whatever it may be.
Yeah.
And that's just real talk. I again, with the whole Caribbean mix and the military enlisted stuff, I've learned to keep things real, sprinkle a little sugar or honey on it at the same time. But it's important for us to recognize, one, we're not going to be here forever,
Mhm.
right?
Mhm.
Two, enjoy the ride. Three, in order to do that, you got to take care of your body. You got to take care. You're not going to go on a road trip. I remember that. I don't know if you remember. You remember before holiday weekends when your platoon sergeant have to check your vehicle out and you have to get your vehicle checked before holiday? Did y'all used to do that?
Our personal vehicles or the
Yes. No, your personal vehicles on long holidays. Yeah, man, in the army.
we didn't do that, the Marines.
Yes. They don't care about y'all like they care about us in the office.
Apparently not, because my sergeant never popped the hood of my car.
No, they had a checklist that for long holiday weekends, if we're going to go on a trip or go home or whatever, it was the platoon sergeant responsibility, which was then delegated down to the squad leader to make sure that everyone's vehicle was road ready. And it was just like checklist, make sure your tire pressure was up, just some basic stuff. But we take care of our own in the Army. I don't know what's going on in the Marines.
I don't know either, because we didn't do that. Basically, we on our own.
Oh my God. Yeah, we used to do that. Oh my, it's a funny how talking to you. That's why, the soldier story is awesome. It's talking to another military personnel. Because
Yeah,
I know some folks don't like to be called soldiers because they weren't in the Army or, the Air Force
it's all
folks.
good. It's all good, sister.
But it's just bring back some of these things. I totally forgot. Yes, we used to have vehicle check. I forgot it was fitness check or something like that we used to do. Yeah, the Army trained us up well back then. I'm like the poster child for the Army, I would suppose, after everything I've been through, but
Yes.
done and done.
Look here, the Marines, they treated us like Spartans on the movie 300, man. Feast of famine, kill or be killed. You are on your own.
Oh my
But
gosh.
if you were the bunch of guys and some drama go down, we gonna fight.
Yeah, yeah. We won't talk about that. I'm all well dressed and
Right,
I'm a doctor. You can't talk about stuff like that. But enlisted with those, infantry dude, yeah. I'm gonna leave it at that. And it was 329
right.
field artillery. Was it 112 infantry? I think was what was out at the Fourth ID back in the day, playing spades and yeah, getting in trouble that you're not supposed to get into, but
Hey,
good. It all, and I learned from it. Let's put it that way.
indeed, indeed, indeed. Uh, one final question. If there
Yeah.
was a message that you could share to inspire other veterans,
Mhm.
what would that message be?
Well, it's twofold. I want to address those who are still active duty, and then for those who are veterans or even those who are looking to go into the military. I always say, one, if you're going into the military, to have a plan. If it's for education, and you're going to be doing something, an MOS that can align for something in the civilian sector, make sure you stay the path, right? Make sure you do things. Because when I was enlisted, I did take classes and they pay 75% off the tuition back then. So I was paying at 25% because I know what my end goal would be. Failure is not fatal. And
Mm.
I'm living proof. So
Say
if you mess up on a subject or something, or you didn't do well and do it again. Try again. So whatever it is you're doing, be it if you're enlisted an officer or if you're just starting out or thinking about it, don't be afraid of trying. Keep going. If I did it, you can do it too. The other thing for those who are veterans, don't give up on yourself. You have the right to the care. It's set aside just for you. If there's care for you, it's not being subtracted from anyone else's care. There are folks who are at the VA to serve you. These are credentialed folks. I work with lawyers, I've worked with VSO, I've worked with VFW, I work with those folks as well. You can come directly to me, but I would encourage you to find those who are credentialed to help you submit your claim. If you're not as savvy with the app and all that stuff, they're there to help you. If my service is needed, go to q4cd.com. I am here to help you. However, know that this is all about you. This is your life, your ride, your time. So keep stepping and do what you have to do for you at all time. And that's my word with blessings to everyone who's listening now and in the future.
Amen.
Amen.
Other than your email, which was q4cd.com, doctor, is there any other information that or contact information that you could share?
Sure. So the q4cd.com is the website. And so it's HTTPS, but if you just type in q4cd.com, that will bring you to the Veterans Service page and all the costs and fees and price, everything is listed, very transparent there. If you want to learn about me, all the information will be at the bottom of that page. And that page is Queen Quanta, which is Queen, Queen, Quanta, Queen Quanta. But if you go to Q4CD, I promise you everything you need is there. Scroll down to the bottom, you'll see about Dr. Camille Williams or Dr. C.M. Williams, and you'll see about me, and you can click that, and it'll take you wherever you need to go to get the books, our services, whatever you need. I'm here to serve continually.
Yeah. Well, I loved our conversation, Dr.
Yes, it was fun. Thanks for the memories. It was great. It was really a lot of fun.
That memory lane, that's always fun.
Yes.
It's better to have conversations like this because we came from such humble beginnings, and we had moments in our lives where we didn't know where we were going to end up.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And sometimes we don't know what we don't know either. So
Indeed.
It's great that you're doing this, Mark. I commend you for doing this. And I hope that many others will listen to some of these and glean from it and learn from it. And if nothing else, it's just always such a great conversation, great meeting you, great just remembering back in the day. And, it's just been great. It's been good. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Dr. Queen Williams. Thank you so much again for taking the time to speak with me on this platform. And ladies and gentlemen, she gave a great story about, her life and her time in the military, and just she has great energy, guys. And for any veterans out there that's listening and that's going through, shoot her a hello, reach out to her.
Thank you. Thank you.
I will say that she will assist you in any way that she could.
Thank you. Yes.
So with that being said, ladies and gentlemen, this has been another episode of the Soldier Story Podcast. Check me out on my YouTube channel, guys, and subscribe to my show. And as always, be safe and, keep your heads up, guys. All right. Yeah. Take care, doctor, and take care.
Bye.
All right.
Yes. Bye-bye.